Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. Happy Friday, November 4th. Penguins do not play again today, so it was another good day, I think, for you all. But they do play on Saturday. They'll play the Seattle Kraken at PPG Paints Arena. They'll return home as they try to snap the six-game skid. We're going to preview that game, go into some keys for the Penguins to win, look at the Seattle lines. We're also going to touch on the Penguins lines, if there's going to be any changes to the lineup, specifically the defense. There also, I think, could be a couple of, at least one forward returning from injury. We'll get to that. And we'll also touch on a couple of other things regarding the team right now. So that's all coming up right after this drop.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can also follow the show's Twitter at @L_Penguins. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline as you cover this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. That is BetOnline, where the game starts. So let's jump right into it. Penguins Kraken, Saturday night, 7 p.m. start at PPG Paints Arena. I can't say enough how big this game is for the Penguins. And, usually I don't remember the last time I've ever even said that about a game in November. Team starts slow to begin with, and I know they were 5-6-4 last year, though they did not have Sidney Crosby and getting Malkin for most of those games. But when you're on a 6-game skid like this and you're towards the bottom of the standings right now after being at the top start of the season, you got to start banking points. And, it's time to – I know the Kraken have only been a franchise for 2 years now. Basically, this is their second season. But, you got to start banking points. And this is a big one for the Penguins. They'll welcome the Kraken in after losing to them 3-1 just last weekend. Funny enough, that was a 1-0 game for a bit. The Kraken were able to tie it, and then they were able to take the 2-1 lead late in the second period thanks to an awful pass from Pittsburgh captain. He literally put the puck into no man's land. And then they were able to get the empty netter in the late stage of the third period. The Penguins had a push, but they were not able to solve Martin Jones. For some reason, he decides to play like God every time he plays the Penguins. So getting into the Kraken's lineup right now. So Andrei Burakovsky, Alexander Wenberg, and Alfred Bjorkstrand. We all know Burakovsky with his time in Colorado and Washington. He's been a little bit of a Penguin killer over the years. Bjorkstrand, usually good for 20 to 25 goals as well. Jaden Schwartz, super underrated player from St. Louis. Matthew Beniers, not a bad second-line center. And the player who needs no introduction, Jordan Eberle. As I said last weekend, and it came true, if you don't bet, and if you are a betting person and you don't bet an anytime goal scorer prop for Jordan Eberle, seek help. Seriously, seek help. That is probably the freest money you will ever win. I said that last weekend. I will say it again now. He scores every single time he plays the Penguins. It's just, that was how it is. He did it when he was with Edmonton. He did it a crap ton when he was with the Islanders, and now he's doing it when he's with the Kraken. So I 1,000% expect him to score in that game on Saturday. Yanni Gourde with Brandon Tanev on the third line. Shane Wright, it looks like, has finally gotten back into the lineup. I don't really know why. He's been a healthy scratch for most this year. The guy was a top 5 pick in the draft. So a lot of people thought he was going to go number 1, but the Canadians had other ideas with Slavkovsky, and then he fell down a little bit further. But, I think Seattle just has to see what they have in him at this point. And then Daniel Sprong, Morgan Geekie, Ryan Donato as their fourth line. Vince Dunn, Adam Larson on the top pairing. Jimmy Alexiak, Justin Schultz on the second pairing. Carson Sose, William Borgen as the third defensive pairing. And then, again, Martin Jones and Joey Decord for their goaltenders. I would probably expect Martin Jones to start in that game again. So that's a look at Seattle's lineup. The Penguins, when they played them the last time, very low event game, I would say. It kind of didn't help that the Penguins, they played the night before. That's tough. You play against Vancouver, you don't really look that good, and then you travel the next day, basically. Well, probably in the middle of the night. You get there, and then you play a very low event first period. Second period's kind of the same, and then the third period, you make a little bit of a push, but they just don't have enough, and then that leads to a 3-1 loss. And I thought for the most part, because that was the game Casey DeSmith played. I thought DeSmith played good in that game. He gave them a chance to win that game. But, when you only score one goal, especially against Martin Jones, who's usually one of the worst goaltenders in the league, excuse me, that's not going to do anything for you. So the Penguins obviously will need to score more than one goal if they want to win this game. A couple other game notes here. I love getting the game notes from the Penguins PR team just because they have a lot of really good stuff in here. Penguins, at least this game is at home so far this season. They're 3-0-1 at home. They're also 10-3-1 in their last 14 home games against Western Conference opponents. I still can't believe this stat when I look at it. Josh Archibald has goals in back-to-back games for only the third time in his career. A goal in this one would establish a new career-long goal-scoring streak. So he's never gone 3 games in a row with scoring a goal. Now that I said that, he may. And again, I don't think it's a bad thing to say that he's probably been one of their better bottom sixers this season. And usually that's not good just because, if he's one of your best bottom sixers, you usually don't have a lot down there. But I think that also just goes to show how badly the bottom six has struggled with the Penguins. And, Archibald, credit to him, 3 goals through the first 11 games. That's basically a 22 goal per 82 game pace. Usually he's at about a 12 goal per 82 game pace, 13 goal per 82 pace. Or at least that's what he was just a few years ago. Last season, he didn't really get to play much with injuries and, the whole COVID-19 stuff, which I'm not going to get into for this episode. But, when he's healthy, he's usually decently good, for double-digit goals. Sidney Crosby is still on 900 watch. He sits 1 assist away from becoming only the 20th player in NHL history to record 900 career assists. This game will also mark his 1,120th career game. And if he does get it here, he would be the 6th fastest player in NHL history to record 900 assists. And the only other players to record 900 assists faster than him, here you guys go. Wayne Gretzky, 584 games. The era that he played in was crazy, but it's also nuts to see just how good Wayne Gretzky was. Mario Lemieux, 771. Paul Coffey, 991. That's awesome. Adam Oates, 1,056. And Ron Francis, 1,108. I think if Sid had not missed a lot of time due to the concussions and due to other injuries, he probably would have been the 4th fastest. I mean, I think he definitely would have beaten Ron Francis' record, would have passed Adam Oates, who was at 1,056. He would only be behind 2 former Penguins in Lemieux and Coffey. And then, of course, Wayne Gretzky. So that's awesome. Hopefully he does get his 900th point in that game. Another cool stat for you all. I was looking at this to make sure. The Penguins, they're well represented in the NHL's top 20 of all time list. Obviously with Ron Francis with all-time assists, he's 2nd. Jaromir Jagr's 5th. Paul Coffey's 6th. Lemieux is 12th. Mark Recchi's 15th. Larry Murphy is 17th. Brian Trottier is 19th, and Sidney Crosby is 20th. Sid will easily pass Mark Recchi, I think, by the time his career's over. Heck, he's easily going to get over 1,000 assists by the time his career's over. Mario Lemieux only ended his career with 1,033. Sid's at 899 right now. I mean, he needs 130 more assists. He should easily be able to break that record by the end of his career. So those are some cool stats for this game. Overall, though, the Penguins, for the keys to win this game for me, fast start. Obviously, you want to get that first goal. You really want to jump on the Kraken quick. Goaltending. I know I harp on this so much, but lately the goaltending hasn't been good enough. If the Penguins are able to get at least one more save in either of those 2 games against Buffalo or Boston, the team is 6-4-1 right now. And how many people are pissed off? Like, is everyone saying, oh, they should tank, or oh, they're not going to make the playoffs? No, everyone's like, oh yeah, cup parade's back on, and all that other stuff. They were in great position to win both those games. They didn't get the save. Casey DeSmith was really bad on a couple of goals. Tristan Jarry was not that good. I would expect Tristan to start in this game against Seattle. He's going to need to be a lot better, to say the least. Also, of course, the penalty kill. The PK has to stop basically spotting the opposition a goal every game. That is what it is doing right now. It's one of the worst units in hockey. They play that stupid diamond right now that is just very annoying to watch it set up. I understand that they're trying to protect the house, but it's way too passive. And again, they are spotting the opposition a goal on a nightly basis. If they are able to get that in check, I really think that could be the big key to getting this team back on track, because obviously the goaltending will, hopefully not be as leaky with that. And hopefully, and then in turn, also the players will be able to get in the front of the shooting lanes, block some shots, and also help their goalie out by getting some clears. I think that's been a big issue so far on the penalty kill this year, as that the Penguins, they just have not been getting the clears. It's not just, the goaltending is not in the 99th percentile for goals saved above expected or save percentage for the penalty kill, like Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith were last year, especially Tristan Jarry. It's part of that because it's not that, because he's not that good on the PK so far, but it's also personnel-wise, and it's also the fact that, again, they're just not being aggressive enough, and they're not getting clears when they need to. So that is also a big key for me. And, just playing loose. Obviously the team is upset. They should be coming out firing in this game, especially it's a home game. You really want to show the fans something in this game. You have to get back on the winning track. Those are my main keys to winning this game. You got to keep, I think the core obviously has to be good. And hopefully the depth. I want to see the depth players really come through in this one. You can't, as Rob Rossi told me on my Thursday episode, you can't leave it up all to the top six. You're going to have to get depth scoring from your bottom two lines. I know Josh Archibald has 3 goals this year. Other than that, a lot of those players have really not been seen, and it's a big problem right now. So we'll have to see what happens with that. So those are my main keys for the Penguins to win that game, and a nice little preview for Seattle and looking at them. Coming up in the second segment, we're going to get into the Penguins lines for that game, look to see if there's any lineup changes, and I'll just give my thoughts overall on what Mike Sullivan, it looks like he's going to do. Now, before I get to that, BetOnline is your number one source for betting football and the start of the new basketball season. You can find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. It's the fastest, easiest way to check in on all of your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. You can head to the website today or use your phone to learn more. That is BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, welcome back to this episode, of the Locked On Penguins podcast. The Fridays are getting to me now. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Well, follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. It's just twice in 2 seconds that I just totally almost lost my train of thought. Anyways, let us get into the Penguins lines for this game. A couple changes for Yins. I'm going to look at the workflow for you all right now. So Carter, Gensel, and Archibald were not at practice today. Got some updates for you all on that. Jake Gensel was sick, so they left him home. Right now, I would say he's a game-time decision. It looks like it's just a total little stomach bug going through the locker room. Chris Tang, I think, had to miss a game. Judah, he was right back out there. Hopefully this is nothing serious. Hopefully he'll be able to go out there. Josh Archibald, he had a maintenance day. Would assume he's good to go for tomorrow. And Jeff Carter is still day-to-day. Teddy Blueger took full contact, centered regular line, also took PK 1 minutes. He's eligible to come off injured reserve on Saturday. It looks like he is going to make his return. I'm going to go into that in just a second. But so for now, Heinen, Crosby, Rust, Zucker, Malkin, Rakell. Again, I wish they would put Rakell back up there and Rust down on the second line. I think Rust so far this season has worked better with Malkin compared to Crosby, and they always have, great numbers together, Malkin and Rust. That is, like 55% of the shot attempts, almost 60% of the scoring chances, same with high danger chances. They work very well together. I understand that, that Sullivan wants to spark up that top line just because Gensel, Crosby, Rust has been really good in the past, and I know Heinen is at practice for this one in Gensel's stead, but I still think with what I've seen this season, I prefer to have Rakell up there, especially because he's been, I think, the most consistent forward outside of Gensel. I think he's also a natural fit for Crosby. That's just one man's opinion, though. I think if they were to flip-flop them, that would be better. Third line, McGinn, Blueger, Kapanen. So, again, it does look like Brock McGinn Teddy Blueger is going to return in this game. And, this should be big. I know some people are down on him. I mean, I was told over the offseason that they included him in the original offer to go get Jeff Petrie. It was going to be Marcus Pettersson and Blueger, but Montreal declined to that. They wanted Mike Matheson. And, so far the Penguins haven't collected their investment with Petrie. But, as Rob Rossi was telling me on Thursday, he wants to see more time when it comes to him. And, I want to see more from him too, obviously. But, Blueger, hopefully he can be a player that can really spark that bottom six. And I know I've had a lot of people been telling me this lately. Well, Hunter, I know the PK stinks, but, Teddy Blueger is going to be on there soon, so maybe it's going to magically improve. I have my doubts just because I think it's more just the execution-wise. Sure, it's a little bit personnel. I don't think Ryan Poehling belongs in the penalty kill. Brock McGinn doesn't really know what he's doing on there either. But, Blueger's usually one of their best, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'll see if he can really change up that unit. Zach Aston-Reese, before he got traded, he was one of their best penalty killers. You could definitely see that, it went down a little bit after his absence. And I know he didn't score a lot, but defensively and on the PK, he was really good. And I would say the same for Blueger. Defensively, he's a really good bottom six center, still brings that scoring touch. But I am curious to see how much that PK improves, if at all, with him on the ice. If he is, the bread to that unit's butter, we'll see if that made sense, right? Yes. Yes. If I don't think, whatever. You all know what I'm saying with that. But, if he is that kind of thing right there and the unit improves, then I'll be like, okay, those struggles were because Blueger was out. But if it's not, I'm kind of going to be saying the same things at this point. But it is going to be nice to see him back. He missed 11 games. Looks like he's going to be centering the third line with McGinn and Kapanen, and then Ryan Poehling with Sam Poulin and Drew O'Connor. I would assume if Gensel and Archibald are able to play, I'm guessing probably Poulin and O'Connor come out. You probably will get Archibald down there on that. I had to guess here. Yeah, if I had to guess, if both Gensel and Archibald are able to play, they would probably go Gensel, Crosby, Rust, Zucker, Malkin, Rakell, probably Heinen. I think they actually would go Cap. Yeah, I think they actually would go Heinen, Blueger, then Kapanen, and then they would probably have McGinn with Poehling and Archibald on that fourth line. That is my guess, though, if the both are able to play. So I think you would see Poulin and O'Connor come out and Gensel and Archibald in if they're able to play. Defensively, Pettersson and Petrie are still together. Joseph Ruda and Rubito are rotating. And I am sorry to say, Jens, yes, Brian Dumoulin is on the top pairing. I do not understand what Mike Sullivan is seeing in him at this point. It is a very baffling decision. I know that people are really upset that the team is not making any changes. I get it. I hear your frustrations. It's definitely a choice. Mike Sullivan's making his bed with that one. He's lying in it right now. It's obvious that they have a lot of respect for him. I think they want to try to see if he can turn it around, but it's been 11 game sample size so far, and he's looked pretty freaking washed to me. So I don't know, man. If it were up to me, I'd move one of Pettersson or POJ up there with Letang, see what you got with them, with your franchise defenseman. Give Dumoulin some easier matchups with Jan Ruta. You can put him out there against third and fourth liners from the other teams. I think he would, I don't know if he'd fully eat them up, but they would be easier, matchups for him rather than going up against the opposition's top line every night. I mean, among defensemen, he's like top 5 and, goals allowed when he's on the ice. I don't really look at plus minus and stuff. I think that's probably one of the most useless stats in the league, but the fact that he has been on there for a lot of goals against with his minus, that also matches up with the eye test. Again, I will say this one more time. I do not like plus minus. I think it is a useless stat just because, players are on the ice for goals against all the time. I don't think that tells you anything. Now, if your plus minus is really bad, I think that could tell you something okay, you're a detriment to the team, like Jack Johnson was a couple years ago, like Brian Dumoulin is right now with how many goals he's been on the ice against. But, if people's main arguments for a player being bad or a player being good is their plus minus, it's just weird. I look at so many other numbers when it comes to that. But Still, I'm frustrated by it. I know the Penguins aren't making enough changes right now. I think if they continue losing, Mike Sullivan's going to have no choice at this point. It's obvious that I think he sees this team, they're going to break out of it soon. So, it's a gamble, but we're going to have to see if that pays off for him, to say the least. So that wraps up this second segment by going into the lines. Still have a little more to get to for this final segment of the show. But before we get to that, if you've thought about securing your home with home security but have been putting it off, you'll want to listen up. Right now, Locked On Penguins listeners can order the #1 rated Simply Safe home security system for 50% off. This is their biggest offer of the year, and you won't want to miss it. Simply Safe was named the best home security system of 2022 by U.S. News and World Report, a third year in a row. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use fast protect technology exclusively from Simply Safe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real, so you can get priority police response. 24/7 professional monitoring service also only costs less than $1 a day, less than half the price at ADT's traditional professionally installed system. With the top-rated Simply Safe app, you can stay in complete control of your system anytime, anywhere, arm or disarm, unlock for a guest, access your cameras, or you can adjust your system settings. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system I recommend. Get 50% off any new Simply Safe system at simplysafe.com/lockedonnhl today. This is their biggest discount of the year, 50% off new Simply Safe system. That is simplysafe.com/lockedonnhl. There is no safe like Simply Safe. All right, I'm back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can also follow the show's Twitter at @LORSOPenguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. Going around the league a little bit, awesome to see Jaromir Jagr's response to Jason Zucker again. I loved that salute. Our nice Jewish boy, Jason Zucker. I can't wait for the day that Jaromir Jagr's jersey is retired up in the rafters. I'm hopefully going to be there for that game, to say the least. Look, I don't usually get into this kind of stuff on the podcast, but it's around the league and it's making a lot of headlines. If you all follow the league as much as I do, I'm sure you saw the Mitchell Miller stuff today. When it comes to the Boston Bruins, Don Sweeney press conference was honestly just embarrassing. I'm usually someone that is all for second chances. Lord knows I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but the fact that this guy has not even come out with an actual apology for the kid that he racially bullied all those years is very disturbing to me. In my opinion, to play in the NHL, it's a privilege. It's not a right. And I think, this just goes to show that the NHL, they're still so backwards when it comes to this stuff. I'm sure people are going to come to me and say, well, the guy was 14, blah, 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 blah. But, when I was 14, I didn't racially bully someone. I had the common sense to not be a total idiot to people like that in real life. And he didn't just do it for a week or something. He did it for multiple years. And it was enough that the Arizona Coyotes literally denounced him and they released him right after they drafted him. So it also looks bad when all of the Boston Bruins players, well, at least after what Don Sweeney said today, he was like, yeah, some of our core players were like, why did you do this? It's like, yeah, that's not the greatest answer you can give there, Don. And he was like, yeah, I'm also not so sure if I would do this if it was my kid that he racially bullied, or this could be the wrong move. It's just like, dude, you're saying all the wrong things there, man. All the wrong things. You either make this move and you're confident about it, or you don't make this move and you're not confident about it. You can't just make this move and not be confident about it. It's just a really weird situation. And again, I just think it's a bad look for the league. It's obviously, at least to me, that the guy is not sorry for what he did. He hasn't even apologized to the kid. The victim parent's mom even said he tried to message him on Instagram, but that was it. It's just that's nothing, man. That doesn't change a thing. So, that's my little tangent on that. It's one of the biggest stories surrounding the NHL, and I want to take the time to talk about it on today's episode. If you disagree, that's your opinion, at least. But this is back to the Penguins a little bit. This is their last game on Saturday. That's their last game for a few more days. They'll go to Washington on Wednesday, and then they have a lot more road games after that before they come home and play Toronto. Again, I will be at that Toronto game on November 15th. That is also my 25th birthday, funny enough. So if you're going to the game let me know. You can DM me on social media. You can comment on YouTube and all that stuff. But that will basically do it for this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Wanted to, just touch on a couple of things league-wide and, just finish off with a little look at the road ahead and all that stuff. So again, thank you all so much for listening. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll be back with another episode for you all on Monday to recap that game against Seattle. Hopefully we'll be talking about a Penguins win and not a 7th straight loss. So again, hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Let's go Pens, and we'll see what they can do on Saturday. Have a good Friday, everybody.